first half. Now, Kate's got that face is children.
Thank you, lovely. Slow poke, there we go. Thank you.
Thanks. And one, anybody else for names? Yeah, right. We've got a choice. There's or we've got three. Yeah. Oh, I'm looking at you.
I was really
You won.
I would have loved it. Just not having it after the little man.
I don't know what's slow. I heard this one. But I just
You're sitting on that chair.
well, we've part of the telling me those glasses can go with these.
I can move back if you want to use this chair. Do we?
I can't really do on that.
Here, I'll move back.
I don't think it's a necessity.
Now, Joanna, would you like a glass of wine?
I'll go out and
I'll just go and grab it, or is it in here? No, it's in here. Is that a white Shiraz? Or is a classic dry white?
Yes.
So we can't wait to get to the front row.
So that must be mine.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just
Wow, hello everyone. How exciting. Thank you so much for coming tonight. So firstly, welcome if you haven't been here before to Merja's presentation tonight. I'd just like to talk a little bit about Merja and her background first. Merja is a master physiotherapist, or qualified master therapist in psycho-emotional and orthopedic massage. Her great-grandmother was one of the first therapists in Finland, so she's been doing massage therapy since she was a child. She's also got a degree in equine science, so anything that she teaches has been researched and has been lived. She works with conscious business owners as well to better their business and to help them along their journey building their business up. So she's been helping me for a few months now, and she's just got some fantastic intuition. Merja's personality type is in the top 1 to 2% of people in the world when it comes to interpersonal intuition. She's got an amazing ability to put herself in other people's shoes and understand how they're feeling. So she's just got amazing intuition. So without further ado, Merja.
Wow! We're missing one seat. Ah, are you okay? Are you happy? Brilliant. Welcome everybody. It's so lovely to see you all. It feels like it is several weeks since we were here last in this room doing a wine o'clock, but certainly we had a workshop since. And some new faces as well, which is always lovely. So welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to have you all here tonight. Tonight's subject we'll be talking about the art of self-nurturing. Now, people often go like, well, you know, why is it an art, first of all? What's with the art business? And the easiest way to really or the reason why I call it the art of self-nurturing is because art requires dedication and practice. So anything you want to become an artist in, any subject that you want to become an artist in, you need to dedicate yourself to your art and you need to practice your art. Anybody here knows an artist? You know, it can kind of fluctuate, but mostly artists see themselves as artists every single day. So when it comes to the art of self-nurturing, the message in that title is, this is an everyday thing. This is an everyday commitment. This is an everyday practice. It's like practicing faith. You know, some people practice religion. Practicing self-nurturing gives you the results that you actually want in life. And of course, often we don't even know what we want in life. We just know that where we are right now is not what we want. Anybody relate to that? Yeah. So there are several different ways or levels of nurturing. And when I was thinking about doing this presentation, because this presentation is actually a 2-day workshop, so I'm putting it into an hour. Thank you. So I'm obviously going to be chopping and cutting out and just trying to give you the core work today of what it is about art of self-nurturing that if you can take away from tonight, it will serve you for the rest of your lives. Is with self-nurturing, you can have many different, I could take any approach to it, and as I was just saying, I was wondering about what should I do tonight? What is the, how should I bring this subject to this room of people whom with most I've worked with before on some level or another, and some people I haven't at all. And I thought about different personality types. Who here has done my workshops, the weekend workshops? Oh yeah, so majority of the room. You get to know your personality type, you get to know what your strengths are, your challenges are, and so on. And whilst that's really useful, I won't have the time to go into detail for everybody's personality type tonight, and also some of you who haven't done personality type testing won't even know necessarily what your personality type is. So with that, I've decided to do tonight's presentation according to whether you're a head type, a body type, or a heart type. Who here immediately knows what type they are? Who could resonate with something? Okay, so most of you are maybe not sure whether you belong to your head, to your body, or to your heart. And the easiest way to know is this: ask yourself this question. You are a head type if you are very likely, when you're under pressure, you're very likely to go into a mode, a problem-solving mode, and you try to plan things to basically stop from anything from happening in the first place. Who would identify themselves with that sentence? Okay, so you're probably a head type. It doesn't mean that you are a head type, but you probably have these tendencies. And if you have these tendencies of a head type, you'll be able to access the self-nurturing from the very first section that we'll be covering tonight. And it's a perfect way into this self-nurturing work that hopefully you will make it into your own art form from today on and in years to come. So you will know if you're a body type, if when you're in a stressful situation, or if you're thinking about a stressful situation, your body seizes up and it's like you can't move, or that you want to run away as fast as possible. So when you get like bodily feelings, not necessarily around your gut, but like in extremities. Who gets that? When you get nervous or really like seriously stressed, you might feel like you're losing your legs. Something like that. That's usually body type. Now, the great news is that everybody can access this word from the head type space. So it's not ever going to be in vain. And then you, some of you who are a heart type, you can identify with maybe this sentence. When I get really stressed, I get this sense of, or if I'm in a really stressful situation, I can get this sense of that there's no hope. Anybody in that category? Yeah. Okay. So that's how we're going to grossly categorize people here tonight, which is actually exactly the opposite of what I do in the workshops, incidentally. But because we only have an hour today, that's what we're going to go for. So if you've identified that you're a head type, great. Have a think about that. Pun intended. If you think that you might be a body type, and you're not sure because not many people kind of thought that they might be a body type, it's actually a very masculine trait. So a lot of women aren't necessarily body types as such. Most women are either here or here, usually. And a lot of women, of course, have very heart-centered being, especially women who have had children. Who here has had children? Okay, so again, majority, and we have one on the way. You're so beautiful, by the way. You're so radiant. So this is the pregnant section there. So I'm gonna try not to get into trouble tonight. Okay, so let's access the art of self-nurturing from the head space. What it means is that we can intellectually understand that, number one, having stress is not good, and number two, we can do stuff about it. Does that make sense? Most people, when they have a kind of when they're mostly in their head space, especially when it comes to women, the stress manifests in a way that they get extremely pissed off. And they just want to rip somebody's head off. Can anybody identify with that? There's this aggression, and it's usually because your heart's not open. So you're not in your heart. Your body isn't translating. You're not in your body either, because your body isn't translating any of it. You just want to go for it. And so that's the easiest way of understanding on an intellectual level what stress does to us, and actually if we dig deeper for us as well, but I'm not going to go in there quite yet. But if we can go from that space of understanding, okay, from now on, every time I get pissed off or angry, or I'm like wanting to say something or give somebody a middle finger in traffic, okay, I'm already gone past the threshold of having any form of self-nurturing for myself. Does that make sense? So if you're finding yourself getting angry, it is usually because you feel one of the following feelings: angry, hard done by, vengeful. You can be livid. Like if you ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? You might go, I'm so fucking livid. And it's this, but it's an energetic way of being. So it's actually a step up from depression, as we know, to be extremely angry, like really aggressive and so on. When you're in that space, you already know that you haven't given to yourself what you need because you have been pushed too far away from yourself. Does that make sense? So what does that mean? What does it mean that you're getting angry? Well, who here thinks anger is bad? Okay. Too many of you have done this work. The thing about the anger and the head access to when you realize you're so livid and you go like, okay, I haven't been nurturing myself, is that you're removed, first of all, from your body. Your heart's not open. And all you can do in order to not believe all these bad things about you that you feel that other people are feeling about you is attack them. All you can do is attack them. So defend yourself. Does that make sense? So anger, revenge, that kind of stuff, it's all about defending yourself. Defending your own like honor or your own sweetness or your own goodness or whatever it is. But of course, if you embrace your goodness, which is what self-nurturing is, you don't tend to get as triggered. Does that make sense? So if you have a practice of self-nurturing, your reality is more about self-nurturing than believing that other people can hurt you. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you ever find yourself getting angry, this workshop might be useful for you. So that's the easiest way of accessing or understanding or even starting to develop this path of self-nurturing, because we all are nurtured in different ways. Who here actually does regular self-nurturing? Things like inner child work, like on a day-to-day basis, inner child work, deliberately go and connect with, say, animals. Maybe they take their dog out for a walk. They go and sit with their horses, they sit in nature, meditation, that kind of thing. Yeah. Try, yeah. There's kind of two stages to all of this nurturing result. I learned that. Business. And the first stage is actually starting to do something. And then the second stage is when you actually find whatever it is that it works for you and you start to do it as a practice. Because when you first start, think about all of you who have first started to do things for themselves, self-nurturing, like inner child work, whatever, meditation, whatever. Didn't it feel amazing in the beginning? You were like, this is so great. And then it kind of tends to wean off, right? But then when you make that decision, you say, this is a decision and a choice that I'm making. I'm making this choice of doing this self-nurturing as a practice, as a form of art. And I commit to myself for doing, say, 5 days out of 7, 20 minutes of yoga nidra, for example. Not saying that you should all do that, but for some people it works. When you make the commitment, who here has done something like that? Yeah. So when you make that commitment and then you move into that space where it's actually a part of your well-being, doesn't it blow your mind and open your body and just melt your heart? And you just see people. First of all, you end up rowing a lot less with people. People piss you off a lot less. But secondly, it's like you're seeing, you're really getting to know yourself. It feels like, I recognize that feeling that you start to see things that you start recognizing yourself through, or you start seeing yourself through. Like you might be all of a sudden attracted to a book and you pick up the book and you read a sentence out of the book and it's like, that was my day yesterday, or you know that feeling? When you make it into a practice, that's when the magic starts happening. Like, it feels good when you start it, but when you make it into a practice, that's where it's at. The honey is just like falling off the tree, right? And you're there. It's beautiful. So that would be I don't want to convince any of you to do anything, but those are the benefits of really considering this as a form of art, as an approach to life, as an essential part of your well-being, as is sleep, as is food. Because whatever you fuel your body with gives you certain results. We have an amazing nutritional therapist here tonight. She could tell you all about the nutrition and how, if you don't eat greens with your food, how certain minerals don't get into your system. Same thing with sleep. Have you ever been deprived of sleep and then tried to function? Again, I refer to the last, a question a while back, who's had kids? Yeah. So it's the same thing. You're nurturing your body and your mind with your thoughts, your new thoughts of, yes, you know what, I am worthy of doing this nurturing business because I'm going to be the best person that I can be. Not because I need to be anything to anybody else. Yes, I'm a mother. Yes, I'm a sister. Yes, I'm a wife, a spouse, whatever. Yes, you are those things, but that's not who you are first and foremost. Not even a mother. You are a person, and then you are other things. You're a woman, and then you're other things. You can choose your roles. Be whoever you want to be, but please be yourself first. And the art of self-nurturing is really a gateway to knowing who you are. Wouldn't it be nice to just come home? You just arrive into yourself and it feels so comfortable. Do you ever find yourself being bogged down with all these lists of tasks that you have?
Just a little.
Yeah. If you find yourself being in your head a lot of the time, I'm just going to give one example of being in your head, which is about being angry or projecting that anger or getting pissed off or annoyed or irritated, whatever. Just know that relaxing into the art of self-nurturing will give you less of that frizzle and more of that kind of groundedness. You're here, I'm here, I'm here doing this presentation with you. I'm in my body, I'm in my heart. I have, done minimal preparation for this talk. I'm not in my head at all. Somebody said to me earlier today, just wing it, just wing it. I was like, in my head, right? I was like, yeah, it's not good enough. And then I was like, why am I judging myself? I know this material. It's not like I can't do a presentation winging it on this subject, which I'm used to teaching 15, 16 hours of over a weekend. Surely I can do an hour. So it's that self-criticism, that kind of, you should be doing, you should. Whenever you hear yourself saying should, you know you're in your head. That is a sure way of telling that you're in your head. Or that wasn't good enough. Or that's not good enough. Or you should have known better. How the fuck do you know better if you have never done anything different? It's your first time doing something. And by the way, if anybody gets insulted by cursing, now is the time. So, I just would like to get some reflections back. What did you hear me say? What did you hear me say about head? When are you in your head?
When you talk to yourself.
Yeah, negative dialogue, person internal dialogue, yeah.
Yeah, when you say like control that.
Yep. Yep.
I should have done.
Yeah.
Should.
Did you ever walk away from confrontation and then you go like, oh God, I wish I would have said that? That's the thing though. That is exactly it. That's, you're in your head, and when you're in your body and when you're in your heart, even if you get into a confrontational situation or a situation of conflict, you just stay there and you just hear and see the other person, and you have compassion, and you have compassion for yourself, and you don't take on what they're putting at you because you know that they're coming from a place that is uncomfortable for them. And yes, sometimes you need to tell people to get fucked. Most spiritual people are all about, butterflies and rainbows and unicorns farting glitter and shit. Sometimes the most spiritual thing is to say to somebody, listen, fuckface, here's what's going to happen. And you can say it with a smile.
You can say we'll walk away and go, oh, should have said it.
Yeah, I once got into a confrontation situation and I just looked at the person and I was like, I know what's going to happen to you in the next 30 seconds if you don't stop talking. And they were like, oh. They were trying to take over a workshop. I can't have, there's a door for that purpose. In and out. Because when people are doing workshop, I feel that they are entitled to all of the material. They're entitled to doing their own work. Everybody else is as important as the other person. Nobody's above anything. So when you're bringing your own agenda into a workshop situation, it's not going to fly. But, that's my boundary. So, moving swiftly on to boundaries. Who's really good at boundaries?
Getting there.
Good. I think. Isn't it the most important thing about boundaries is knowing what your actual personal boundaries are? Then setting boundaries is piece of cake. And that's the same thing with self-nurturing. It is a form of setting boundaries. We just don't make the connection because we think setting boundaries is bad. Because we were told when we were growing up, probably most of you were told when you were growing up, be a good girl and do X, Y, or Z. Or, good girls don't do that. Or, don't ask for more than what you need. Or money doesn't grow in trees. Which, in Australia, it doesn't because it's made of plastic, but in most countries it actually does grow on trees because it's paper. I'm just saying. So, boundaries, piece of cake when you know what your values are. And when you know what your values are, living truly for yourself, and as a result, overflowing from yourself to others with joy becomes the normal thing. And anybody who knows me knows that I don't pretend to always be happy. Right? I am how I am, and that has to be good enough for now. And you know what? It's good enough for me right now because that's all I can be right now. And if I need to remove myself from a situation of interacting with others and just be with myself, just to give myself some comfort, and just to say to myself, look, it's okay that you don't know something, or that you can't please everybody, or that this person is unhappy with you. It's okay because it's not necessarily about you. Then I can go even out, level out, and just fall back into my body and start opening my heart and start saying, you know what? We're all just doing the best we can with the resources that we have and the knowledge that we have at that time. Any questions so far? Yeah. I think a lot of us can really access this, at least start at the head space with the self-nurturing. Because we can start now recognizing that we're getting angry. Having a background in extensive background and feels like lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of body work under my belt. Who here has got a lot of body work done, has studied body work, or has been exposed to it a lot? Massage, chiropractic, osteopathy, yeah, physiotherapy, stuff like that. You know, when you go to the therapist and they find a pressure point, you know that feeling, right? That pressure point is a manifestation of tension, of blockage of energy in your body. And now if we're taking a body approach to the art of self-nurturing, why would you do it? Or how can you realize that you have, that you could do a bit more of it, is when you go to a therapist and they find all these pressure points and all these, like, if you ever suffer from tension, headaches, migraines, infertility, inability to say things like breastfeeding, issues with breastfeeding, any of those things, any physiological symptoms that you might get, reoccurring tonsillitis, whatever. When you have those, you know that they're manifestation of stress in your body. On a body level, you can identify that on a body level, I'm not flowing. That's your body's way of reflecting back to you. So if you can hear those things, if you recognize, oh God, my calves is a bit tight tonight, just today, wondering what's happening there, or, you know, oh God, tension, headache. Or if you've been driving for 5 hours and, you know, you go like, that's your body's way of telling you, self-nurturing needed. So it's not just, you don't just necessarily, once you start doing this work, you don't just fly off the handle anymore as much. You might start noticing things in your body more. And you go, I need a bit of physiological relief. And most people, unfortunately, and you can see it in most people's postures, and I'm not pointing anybody out here tonight or anything like that, but for most of us, I included, get regular body symptoms, reoccurring body symptoms. They might be the same symptoms, or they might be different symptoms at different time of life. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Which then reflects back to you. Your body is just basically saying, oi, do something about this. And then you go and do something about it, but often, instead of nurturing ourselves, we go to chiropractic to be cracked. Or we go to a massage therapist to be battered into pieces. And that's fine. It's one way of dealing with the issues. It's a very masculine way of dealing with the issues. So if you want to flow into your feminine more, look at things like sauna. Actually, I have to say something here. The actual word is sauna. That's how it's pronounced. It's a Finnish word. And if I hear anybody here say sauna ever again. So go to sauna. Or, you know, or go and walk in nature. So movement, yes, but in a nature, expansive, changing environment. Swimming is amazing, like swimming in the sea, like if it's really hot or if you like to be cold in the sea. Swimming in the sea with the waves, because that's constant movement. And feminine, of course, is movement and flow and energy and changeability. And like feminine is like the sea and masculine is like the boat going somewhere. And then it sunk. Because there was a storm. You know what I mean. Maybe it found a safe harbor somewhere else near a man cave. Well, yoga. I'm not saying do these things. Do the thing that feels most right for you. Meditation. Guided meditation. There's millions of guided meditations you can find on YouTube, and go into snipmp3.com and then put the YouTube address on it and rip the MP3 file of it so you can put it on your phone. These are practical workshops. Yeah. What else would you do? Like if you felt body tightness, what would you do? Dancing. Yeah. That actually for women is one of the best things. Zumba is so much fun. You feel like such an idiot when you first started.
Yeah. What else? Singing.
Yeah. Yep. Singing is also whoever drives on the motorway with music really loud and sings. Yay! Actually, singing is a funny thing because for anybody who wants to practice self-nurturing, singing is an amazing gateway to finding your own voice. If you ever felt that your voice has been suppressed, taking out those Celine Dion CDs, going for it.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, everybody's seen that on the Singleton.
First I was afraid, I was petrified. Yeah. So music, listening to music. Never underestimate the therapeutic effects of listening to loud music. It's good. That kind of thing. So even though, you know, we're talking about body, but it is, the music kind of goes a little bit more towards the heart, but there's certainly the singing and the dancing and the yoga and the sauna and all those things, sitting in nature, listening to water, sit next to water and listen it run. And hope that you didn't drink 2 liters of water before you sit next to it. So those are kind of the body things. Feet in the water, foot bath, Epsom salt bath. Epsom salts and bicarb. Yeah. There's somebody here who talks on the phone and puts her feet in the Epsom salt bath every time she's doing like long calls.
Multitasking. You can sit there for a long time sometimes in meetings on the phone.
That's right.
And I pull the cable on for the next one.
That's right. Self-sufficient. And obviously you fold a towel over there next with little lavender sticks.
Everything.
And then we have somebody who cooks or bakes your cupcakes. Isn't that like a relaxation thing for you? Yeah. And I know somebody else here who plays with their kids or a child and just fucking adores her child. It's just unreal. Like there's so many different things that you can do on a body level with your body to nurture yourself without actually thinking that it's a chore. That's the whole thing about the art of self-nurturing. It's art. It's not the chore of self-nurturing. That's not the title of the workshop. I just want to be clear. The art. And for some people it is literally art. Painting, drawing, writing, enjoying art, reading, going into a gallery. For me, for a really long time, it was going and sitting in a coffee shop and having a cup of coffee that I didn't prepare. And they usually had the little hearts or the little crosses and friggin' shamrocks and stuff. It's just amazing. Find that thing that really makes you smile when you think about it. It's like your inner girl is kind of giggling with you when you're thinking about it. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that. What?
Just had a vision.
Do we want to hear it?
You know, karaoke, bring it on.
Excellent. I like it. Yeah. So those are the kind of body, you're getting the body symptoms. You know, you're getting a bit of tightness here and a bit of tightness there, or a bit of tension, headache, migraine. Certainly gets the message across. Anybody ever suffer from migraines? Suffer from migraine. Right? It's not like having a headache. So heart. What about heart? When do you know that you're in your heart, and when do you feel that you can do kind of heart self-nurturing, or that you're in that space where you don't maybe fly off the handle anymore? You know, your body might be feeling really fluent and open and moving. And what are those feelings around the heart that lets you know that you're a bit, that you could do a little bit more for yourself? Depression? Depression can be quite a disconnected state, but when you feel unhopeful, not hopeful, but it's hopeless. Thank you, third language. Hopeless, it's the hopelessness of that situation. Or, you know, when you really miss some, has anybody ever been homesick? Yeah. When you miss your dad or your mom, or you miss your sister or brother, or you just miss somebody, or your horse. It's like, my heart's really open and it's really hurting. And that's when you really start to move into nurturing your inner child. Who here has done inner child work? One of the most powerful gateways to who you really are. If not the most powerful. Because you start a dialogue with a child, yourself, your child self. Say, for example, you might imagine yourself as a 5-year-old. Think back to when you were 5. What were you like? Were you being criticized constantly about your weight or your appearance or your, talking? Or when you went to school, did you feel like you were outside of things? Maybe a little bit later in life, were you bullied? Somebody trying to put one over you because they didn't like the way you wore your hair, or my lips were too big. That's why I was bullied at school. They're not laughing now. It's hilarious. It's that feeling of, I don't belong here. Can anybody identify with feeling lonely, isolated? Yeah. So when you can actually do a certain level of self-parenting, you can start as an adult. Is everybody here over 18? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, just checking, because some of you look very young. Especially Louise. Can I see some papers?
No, I left them at home.
Can anybody vouch for her? So when you have a certain level of maturity, or when you begin to see yourself as an adult as well as that child that was never heard or never acknowledged or appreciated, you can start nurturing that inner child that is in your heart and actually start having a relationship with her as an adult. So we call it self-parenting. Has anybody heard that term before? Anybody who hasn't done my work yet? Self-parenting basically means allowing that little girl that's in you that never grew up because of those hurts and feels suppressed, allowing her to flourish and grow up. And when you start that journey, self-nurturing, piece of cake. When you're challenged with your inner child, you're having a conversation with your inner child. Come, inner child, let's go and have fun. I don't feel like it. Come on, it's okay. I'm afraid. And she's off. And you're like, how to deal with this now? You just start building rapport, like you would, you know that cute child, that your nephew or your own child, or you know that little child that you connected with and you got to know really well, and you're like, that child is so like just so delicious in her or his being. They're just so joyful, and God, I wish I could be like that, and I want to have some of that. I want to connect at that level. You can actually do that in yourself. You don't have to wait for a child to come along and this is why most people get dogs. Because they want to play, but they don't let themselves play. They get a dog so they can play and be all silly in the park, and nobody will laugh. Imagine doing all that shit without a dog. Taking it into your mouth. When did we stop playing? I have horses for that reason. I get to play with them. We're like idiots in the field. But it's so much fun. It's like nobody's watching, because, well, where we live, nobody's watching. We live like, if I were remote. If there was somebody watching, it would be weird. Yeah, we'd have to call the police, I think. So it's remote, right? But yeah, same thing with a child. When you connect with a child, you know, when you go and play with a child, it's brilliant. It's like you can be silly and they're not judging you. And your inner child wants you to play with them. She wants you to play with her and be silly and let her be how she is without any restriction. She doesn't need to hear another piece of criticism. She just needs to be loved. I mean, you'd never, you know that internal dialogue that we all have? Like, oh, you should have known better, or you should do better, or that, that was stupid. You're too fat. You should go to get your hair done, for God's sake. Look at you. You're wearing wrinkled clothes. You would never subject a child to that by basically, if the child was learning to walk and they fail, you'd go like, you're so fucking stupid. You'd never do that. Why are we doing it to ourselves? Why are we saying to our inner girl, you know what, girl, you're not good enough? Because she's freaking out. You know that thing when people say, oh, don't cry. Mm-hmm. Why not? Yeah. Why not? Why not? Oh, you're a brave boy that you didn't cry. And then all the boys grow up to not be able to show emotion because they were taught as a child that it's not okay to cry or to be afraid. And saying for girls, this thing, children should be seen, not heard. What the fuck is that? Talk about stomping on somebody's voice. Now, at this point, if you hate me, you're probably doing it to your child. No, I'm kidding. You know what I mean. So don't do it with yours. Yeah. You would never ridicule a child learning to walk. Why would you say stuff like that to yourself? Why would you have the internal dialogue? That wasn't good enough. You're so stupid. You're so fat. You're whatever. Whatever. For me, it was for a really long time, you're stupid. You're stupid. You can't figure this out. You're stupid. And as it turns out, I'm far from it. I just didn't know it for a really long time. I might be a bit delusional at times. I might edit that out. Whatever. So, actually, the art of self-nurturing, if you want to do it at the deepest level, yes, you can do the sauna, and you can do, you can do the bath, and you can do all that, those meditations, and you can start to be nicer to yourself, nourish yourself better with food, make sure you get enough sleep, all the basic body and mind things that you can grasp with your mind, but try grasping something that's beyond the mind, which is start talking to yourself and start talking to your little girl, because she really deserves it. She deserves to be acknowledged as the start of you, not even a part of you. She is the start of you. She is the reason why you are who you are today. Do you know that? Because if it wasn't for her and her experiences, you wouldn't be where you are. I'd like to share something about somebody here tonight. Well, I'm going to keep her anonymous. But there's a lady who's done the Radiant Woman workshops, the weekend workshops, and she's writing the most amazing poetry I've ever read. And I'm so proud of her. And that is so beautiful. It's coming from it's you and your child. And it's such an honor to read that, the connection. But then I could say that exact same thing. Anyone who's done the workshop, I can just see your beauty. I'm only talking about the people who've done the workshop because I've worked closely with these people. You all have this beauty. You all have this essence that is hidden often. And that's why we don't nurture ourselves, because we don't even recognize that we are missing something that is a big part of ourselves. It's the seed of us, the original seed that made us who we are today. But by starting to self-nurture, you will actually, the seed will start, it will germinate and it will start growing. And in time, like any germination takes time, in time you will see things, something is happening. It might be your reality's changed, it might be you might meet people who get you. Because first time in your life you allow people to get you because you're getting you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. We're like doing random shit most of our lives, wondering how we end up in different places and meeting different people, and we have nothing in common, and we all have all these friends from school, and you're like, the common denominator here is we went to school together. We don't have anything else in common. And all of a sudden you start getting friends who are actually at your wavelength. They get you, they understand where you're coming from, and they don't judge you for anything you did in school or if you had too big lips. And you'll have that. So I would like to ask you, all of you, to have a little think about what is that form of self-nurturing that you want to do for yourself from now on. What can you give yourself? And start practicing it. Because you can just wing it, like I'm doing tonight. You can just wing it, and there is a way of winging it and still doing it. But I really would like to encourage you to do a practice of it rather than winging it. So just take a moment and think, what is that thing that I can do for myself that I know relaxes me into my body and opens my heart? Does anybody not have one? Everybody has one? I'd like to challenge you for 30 days to do this every day. And do it as a priority. You book it in. You book it in front of your work, your clients, whatever. Just book it in and just do it and see what happens. And you will go, oh, fuck that shit, it's not working at some point. Do it anyway and see what happens. Now, getting back to winging it. If you want to wing it, or if you want to combine these two exercises, so you do your practice as well as wing it throughout the day, because that's actually the most beneficial thing, but it might be a bit overwhelming for some of us, because some of us are so freaking busy. Winging basically means whenever you get a little bit triggered, whenever you feel, oh, this isn't right, or I'm pissed off about something, or you catch yourself doing negative self-talk, move yourself away from that situation. So if you're with other people, move yourself away from that situation. So excuse yourself. So just say, I need to go to the toilet, or whatever. Even if you're in the middle of an argument, and especially if you're in the middle of an argument, remove yourself. So take yourself away from the situation and just say to yourself, how are you feeling right now? You can say, how am I feeling right now? But often if you talk to yourself, you tend to start hearing things. How am I feeling right now? How are you feeling? Little girl, how are you feeling right now? And she might say, I'm pissed off, I'm tired, I'm cranky, I'm feeling hard down by, I'm feeling like nobody's understanding or nobody cares or whatever, right? And then the second question is, what do I need right now? Little girl, what do you need right now in order to soothe that? Well, I need people to fucking acknowledge me. And then give that acknowledgement to her yourself and say, I'm here. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, how am I feeling right now? And then acknowledge that you are feeling this. I fucking hear you, and it is wrong, and it is bullshit, and it is crap, and it, What do you need right now? What can I give you right now? And sometimes it is, I need a fucking nap. Or I need a glass of water. I'm really thirsty. I haven't eaten for 5 hours, and I'm pregnant or something. Do you know what I mean? Which is very unlikely to happen, but still. And then give that to yourself. I need some time to myself. You can go back to the people and say, I'm not feeling very well. I don't want you to enroll anybody into your own drama when you're getting to know what your dramas are, because until you know what your dramas are, you can't make any kind of self-realizations when you try to enroll other people into it. You're just enrolling people into it. Just say, I'm not feeling very well right now. I need to go and rest. And just do that. Just go away and be with yourself and give your inner child what she needs. So yes, you can practice it. You can make it into an art form. Practice the self-nurturing. You can wing it. Certainly, I'm a big fan. Random shit happens when you wing it. It's really cool. But most of us need structure, so I really suggest that you at least start with the structure thing and give yourself 30 days. And just to finish off, because we're almost done an hour, I'd like to leave you with a quote from H. Raven Rose. She's a beautiful, beautiful author. I'm going to try not to cry. She held herself until the sobs of the child inside subsided entirely. I love you, she told herself. It will be okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming this evening and creating with us. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Someone give big cheers, everybody. I was
Hi, everybody. Does anybody mind if I just show the people? There's some people in Western Australia, some people in Europe, some people in US. Do you mind if I just swing the camera around? And do you mind saying hello to everybody? Hello. We've just been having fun here, so never mind us. So hope to see you all soon. And again, thanks so much, everybody. It's been such a pleasure.